Hi, thank you for tuning in. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Sab, and Sab is all the way from Canada. Canada, right?
Canada, that's right.
So, Sab, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So thanks so much, Rose, for having me on here. I'm so excited to just talk some more with you. Every time we talk, it's such a blast. So I'm very excited about this. My name is Sab, short for Sabahat. I'm based in Calgary, Canada, as Rose said. So I'm a business consultant slash leadership coach as well. So I'm one of those people who has a traditional like 9 to 5 job, and also on the side after the 9 to 5, what people call 5 to 9. I make a lot of leadership content, self-improvement content, personal growth content for the last many years. I'm super interested in just inspiring people to speak up and use their voice and speak the truth and get bold and become trailblazers, because trailblazers is something that has inspired me for a long time. Those are the people I feel like are my people, are my jam. So yeah, that's a bit about me in a nutshell. I'm a bit of a globetrotter as well. I've kind of lived all over the world, traveled all over the world as well. And yeah.
Yeah. So the how did me and Sab met is we both signed up for NQ's poetry workshop. And
Yes.
in that poetry workshop, that was my first time ever doing anything poetry, spoken words, like anything like that. So in this class that we were in, we had a chance to share our poem or whatever we wrote. And for me, for first time, I was like so nervous. I was like, I'm not sharing. After hearing a few people share, I'm like, whoa, I was so blown away. I was so blown away. And then the next person I heard was Sab. And oh my gosh, I don't remember what your poem was, but it blew my mind. Like, you write so well, you're well spoken and you write really well. So I was really impressed with what you had to share and the balls that it takes to um, present your your poem or your poetry, what you wrote, because we had a breakout room where we were able to share, and I was so nervous uh sharing what I had to share. Like, tears wanted to come out, like I wanted to cry because it's so vulnerable. And for me, all this stuff came up of like, I'm not good enough. Look at these people that have been writing for years and look how awesome they were, because there was one lady was like freestyling and just going off, like I'm like she was like an expert. I was like, oh, I am not
I
sharing
know.
what I wrote. Like, I'm a beginner.
I know. Oh my God. Rose, I had
Yeah.
the same thoughts too. I think, yeah, like when you and I met on that poetry workshop, I think that was the first poetry workshop I had ever signed up for. Right. So like I probably for the same for you too. Like I had never done a poetry workshop before. I think we were both fans of InQ, the poet InQ. Shout out to InQ. For a long time, I have his books, like I love reading it. And I've actually been writing poetry since I was like young, right? But I have never, like obviously never done a workshop. I've never literally read it out to anybody. I haven't let anyone read it. Nobody, my closest people have never read my poetry. That's how it is, because I've always been like, oh my God, this is coming from the depths of my soul. It's so vulnerable, like you said, Rose. So I'm like, no one's ever reading that. Like it's a creative outlet for me, but it just stays on my notes app on my phone or my notebook, and that's it. Right. So that day when InQ was like, hey, I think he gave us a prompt, right? Say 20 minutes, everybody go write about, I think it was like fall or autumn or something like the changing seasons.
Yeah, I think it was for fall. Yes.
Fall, yeah, that was the prompt that he gave us. And then he's like, now everyone go for 20 minutes write. And I was like, okay, cool. Like writing I can do, right? So I'm like writing, and then he was like, hey, who wants to share? I was like, I have never shared. Like no one's ever read my work. But then I was like, you know what? What are we here for if not to do something that we haven't done before, right? Do something a little bit bold, like something that's like scares. How can I inspire people, tell people to do bold things and do big things, bold things, speak up, speak your voice if I'm not doing it myself? I'm like, you know what? I'll just put my hand up. Maybe he'll pick me, maybe he won't. Eh. And then he did. I was like, oh my God, holy hell, right? There was like all these people. I guess that's a good thing that I didn't know any of the people in that call. Maybe that helped a little bit, right? Because like you said, there's some really, really experienced people on there, right? People who said, there was a man who they put me in a breakout room with after I gave my poetry thing, and he said he does spoken word nights, right? I'm like, great, you're on level 85, I'm on level 2. But yeah, it took so much. And then when I started speak, I think when I started reading my poem, at the first like 5 lines, my voice was breaking because I was like, oh my God, like I was shaking. It was so much, like, so scary to put yourself out there. But yeah, we got it done. So I think that speaks to the power of, like, being bold, just putting yourself out there, and just not just putting yourself out there, but just actually just taking the next step. Be like, let's just do it. Let's go for it. What's the worst that can happen? And what are we here for? We are, if we're not to just step into our power and just open our mouth and speak our truth.
Yeah, yeah. And so if Sab didn't raise her hand to go and present her poetry, I would not have met her.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, like this connection right here would have been, there would be no connection.
It would not have happened.
Yeah. So with her boldness, I was able to friend her on Instagram, and we became friends.
Exactly, because you saw something in me that resonated with you too. You're like, yes, I like it, not just like my poetry, but you're also maybe like, you thought like, oh, that boldness part also resonated with you because you're also a bold person because you have a podcast. You also used to speaking out, like, talking about things, talking to guests, speaking on the podcast itself. You're also brave, so that, you connected on that front. You like my poetry, that's secondary, So yes, putting that out there not only just got me over my fear of being vulnerable in public, but also made a new friend. So yeah.
I know, and I'm very grateful for our new friendship that we're building here. And
Yes.
and look what, and I always think about like the new friendships that we make in the later age of life. Because we have old friendships from like childhood and high school friends. But for me, something about the new friendship that I am creating with like you and all these wonderful people on social media that I have never met, but just through seeing them and conversing with them and just little messages, there's like a new level of friendship. Like with you, like you're bold, you're outgoing, like you do things.
Exactly. I think adult friendship, like you said, at this age, the great thing is that I think we can, because our friendships from before, right? Like we were a certain people, like certain types of people, like 20, 30 years ago, right? Now we obviously I hope we've all grown and changed and evolved and things, right? Like, so now we can actually, it might not be the same people that we were before. We might not be exactly the same type of mindset that, we had with the same people 20, 30 years ago, and they would have the same thing now. So now we might be different people. So we might have to intentionally find the people who we're on the same wavelength with, that we have things in common with, that we have the same values, the same mindset, growth mindset, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's more intentional at our age when we're meeting people and making friends.
Yeah, definitely intentional. And let's talk about poetry.
Oh God, yeah, let's talk about poetry.
We have a homework.
We challenged each other, right? I mean, Rose has challenged us. Actually, Rose has challenged both of us to for this podcast, right? To write a poem and read it out.
Yeah. And so for me, when I was writing this, I was like, it brought up a lot of stuff for me.
Yeah.
A lot of things. Even now, I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like, to me, it's like the more I'm writing, I was like, okay, I need to write more. And for me, it's like, I don't write, I journal, but I used to journal in depth a lot more, a few years ago. And for some reason, my habit of journaling, it kind of died down to just like, I still write, but it's not as in depth like I want it to be. So this brought me a thing where like, I love writing, but I don't do it much. So, yeah, so I don't write much, but see, here's all the self-doubt, the chatter is coming up for me, like insecurities coming up. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I haven't written in a long time. Is this good enough? Is it going to be okay? Is this, yeah.
Yeah. So when you were writing yours, did anything come up for you?
Honestly, it's so funny, Rose, because I think last week I told you that like, oh, I'm gonna write a poem now. And I sat and wrote something, okay? So when I sit and write, a lot of the times it just flows, okay? So I love it, right? But I also realized actually when I was writing that last week that, oh, writing for reading is slightly different. Writing poetry for reading is slightly different from writing poetry for speaking it out.
Mm.
I realized that too. I'm like, interesting, right? So last week when I wrote something and it was from a different place. Also really good. I really liked that poem. But it was a bit more like I think a bit more romantic. I think like it's something. It was more around along that theme, and I really liked it. But this morning, right? I was like, oh, you know what? I have like a list of poems that I had like sort of like scribbled on, like drafted up for, like over the last year or whatever. So I kind of looked through that. And there was one that I felt would be a bit more applicable to our podcast or something like because it's about like words and poetry, right? And then I was like, oh, when I had written it, I think I wrote it for writing and not like for reading. So when I wrote it, so I basically revamped the whole thing and rewrote it to be more like for speaking, right? And yeah, a lot of it like realizations about just that art form, that craft form, right? Okay, so writing it for reading in a book is different than writing it for speaking it out, because when you're speaking it out, you need to, the way you say it, the word you say the words, the way you emphasize it, it's different, right, than just reading it. So yeah, that came up. Obviously, like I'm like, oh my God, we're too vulnerable, can't be too vulnerable. Okay, yes, let's get vulnerable. Like all that,
Yeah.
keeps coming up for me. Yeah, I think for me, the biggest struggle, like I think you said it was like, oh, is it good enough? Whatever. For me, it's just like, am I being too open? I think that is
Mm.
my struggle when I write poetry. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's yeah, that's where I guess not stuck, but that's what I have to battle through,
Yeah.
get to the other side.
The other side. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then talking about like the eternal struggles, because we
Uh-huh.
all have eternal struggles. And for me, I didn't know I still had the internal struggles is when I say write something because you're gonna perform it. All these stuff comes up.
I just love though that Rose that you were like last week when we talked to you, or 2 weeks ago when we talked, you were like, yeah, let's write a poem and perform it. I was like, oh my God. And I was at first I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, thank God she's pushing me and her.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, So because sometimes you're just like, oh, I don't wanna, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, thank God she's pushing us. Otherwise, I would not. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
so great that you did that because I think it challenges us. Because if you didn't, then neither of us would once again, my new poem would still be on my notes app, and yours would not be written, right? So I think that healthy push is also I think what I think friends need to do for each other as well.
Yeah. Because since we met at this class, might as well write
Yeah,
something,
of
right? It's like
course.
this, yeah. So it's like,
That we met there. I mean, it means we have a passion for it. We have inclination towards writing it. We like the art form. We like that the spoken word form. We both have like some sort of varying levels of gift, some kind of gifts towards spoken word too, right? Because we're both drawn to podcasting. So why not tap into it some more? I think we're holding ourselves back,
yeah.
right?
And so what got you into like writing poetry and spoken
Yeah.
words? What got you into that?
Honestly, like I had heard a few spoken word poets, in
Mhm.
the past, and I thought they sounded so badass. I
Yes.
thought they sound so bad. I was like, wow, and I was just like, I could never do that, because I
Yeah.
was like, that is not just brilliant and talented, but oh my God, you're so bold and so courageous and so brave so brave, right? I've done a lot of public speaking. Rose, like a lot of public speaking, but to me, poetry, speaking out poetry that you have written yourself,
Mhm.
whole another level. To me, that's what I feel. So I've always found it I find that very badass. But I've never, once again, never done it, could never do it, except for that time at InQ's poetry workshop. So
Yeah.
it's one time I have ever done it.
Oh, just that one time.
That was the one time.
So you do
And
public
this time
speaking.
too.
So you do a lot of public speaking,
I
but
have done a lot of public
just
speaking.
one
Yeah.
time.
But poetry, spoken word, 100%, that one time.
Wow.
Oof. Yeah. Oh
Wow.
my
That
God.
was good. You
That
were
was
good.
amazing. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I know. So I was when I think I was drawn
Terrified.
to uh spoken word or poetry is because when I was younger, I wanted to be a rapper. But I was
Oh
like,
my God,
okay,
I love that.
maybe the rapping is not for me because I remember I wrote a rap when I was in like junior high no high school. And when we were in high school, like we used to go hang out with like no, I think like when I was 18 or 19, we used to hang out with like different people from different cities and they will have rap battles, you know?
Love it.
And then it's just like, just like my friend, I had a friend there that was like, "Oh, Rosie, go do it, go do it." Even though
Yeah.
I say I say the same rap or perform the same rap over and over again, like the same one, because I only know one. So she would always like push me and nudge me to go in. So I would go in the circle with all these other like like Filipino guys and like just the Asian people, and they were rapping. We're all like 18, 19 years old, like just, super young. And then my friend was like, go Rosie, go Rosie. So she gave me the courage of like, all right, let's, it's it's my rap back then is so dumb. Never, because I was young and I didn't know any better. So I
Of
just,
course.
used to do that. So
Wow.
and that gave me the courage. But then I remember growing up, spoken word, when YouTube came out, I
Yeah.
see this one girl did spoken words above like, talking like the real truth about what's going on. And it just hit me like
Yeah.
on all levels, like the emotion part, like, oh, like it's so like badass. So
Powerful, badass. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that like inspired me. And then also like I want to be a comedian too. So I'm like, okay. So on this journey of personal development
Yeah.
and public speaking, I went to um, what is that called? The when you go to public speaking um,
Toastmasters.
club, yeah, Toastmasters.
Yeah, I did that for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Toastmasters for the first few times, but I never spoke because I was still scared. I went to the club, and this club was all Caltran people. Caltran is like a company, um,
Okay, so it's a corporate club.
a corporate club, yeah. But
Okay.
but
Okay.
they welcome me in. They're like, "Oh, come, we like new faces or whatever," you know.
Yeah.
And then what I wanted to do was like, okay, if I want to be a better public speaker, might as well. And I always wanted to do stand up comedy. Might as
Mhm.
well write something and go to the comedy club and do it. So I said, fuck it, let's try it. So I wrote something for like a stand-up comedy, like a story.
Yeah.
And I took the comedy classes because they had some classes there, like a workshop.
Mhm.
First couple of times I didn't say anything or I didn't perform because I was still scared. Then the third time, they're like, okay, because they have like a at the end of the class, you get to perform or practice whatever you wrote. And then I was like, fuck it. Like the third time, like, just go. So I went and I performed. It was like during the daytime. Oh my gosh. It felt so good. Like I felt like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Like if I made them laugh, it was so funny. And then the comedian was like, you're ready for open mic. Oh, that's like a different level. So it took me like a month and a half to finally uh go to this open mic. It was like 9 p.m. You go in 9 p.m. You sign up, but when you sign up, they let all like the guys that's been doing it go first. So I didn't go on to like 11:30 at night.
Mhm.
I went by myself because I was so embarrassed. I didn't want my husband or anybody.
Yeah.
I was like, it's
Yeah.
yeah. So 11:30 at night. My bedtime is like at 9:30. I'm already in bed. So I'm like waiting, waiting, waiting. So it's like 11:30. My nerves start kicking in. And when I finally got on, I bombed. Like like my nerves took over that I didn't
Of course.
my storytelling or my comedy well, you know? And so that crippled me for months. It's like, oh, like the
Yeah.
guy that the coach, the comedian that I worked with, he was there. He was like, it's fine. Like, you're not going to get it right the first, like, all the time, but like you did well. You did well. You
Yeah.
showed up,
Yeah.
but it took me months to kind of get over that.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, it was such a great experience because I needed that to feel all those nerves. And now that if I go back next time, I'm going to do good. I'm going to do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because I already fucked up already. How does it feel to fuck up? Nobody knows me there.
And you know what? I almost think sometimes that starting off on a win
Yeah.
is almost like setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, and then you have this added pressure all the time. Now I have to do at least as good, if not better, all the time, right? And that can even stop you as well sometimes, right? But if you had the first time you're like, well, I bombed it, 100% that's going to be traumatic, like you said, and it's going to be, oh my God, it's going to take me a long time to recover. But then now you're like, well, I've already bombed it once, like, right? Like it can't go worse than this,
Yeah.
right? Only
Yeah.
get better. So whatever I do is going to get better than this, right? So it's almost like already at the bottom now. So it's perfect. Perfect. It's only up from here.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you say to somebody that's like wanting to get into, public speaking, doing spoken word, writing songs, doing
Yeah.
poetry, like whatever it is that is creative? What do you tell somebody that's like afraid like that?
Yeah.
Wants to start, but is afraid?
Yeah. So honestly, like I think a lot of us, right? Like you said, we're doing it, but we're not performing it. We're not putting it out to the world, right? Like they're like, oh, I have like paintings that I don't like show anybody, or I have write poetry and I'm not sharing anybody, right? I think like obviously it's about just doing it, right? But how do you just do it, right? Like how do you just do it? I think it's like either at one point to say, you know what, who's like, I'm gonna just show it to a few people, like they don't know me, let's say, right? If that helps. So people are different, people react differently to things. Some people are like, I'm just gonna show it to a bunch of strangers, and then that way I'm not gonna be scared, like I did for the poetry workshop, right? Or you could be like, I have some friends who are just like, they know my work, I know they're gonna love me no matter what, and I'm gonna start with them, right? I'm gonna start showing them my poetry, my spoken word, my songwriting, my singing, and start with them. And then those friends, if you're really sure about your trusted circle, like if you know, I have these 4 friends, they're my best friends, they love me to death, no matter what I do, even if I sound like a clown, they're gonna still hype me up. That's what I need, right? Right? You need people who are gonna hype you up.
Yes.
You need people who are gonna hype you up. Like that friend of yours when you were 18, 19 years old, who was like, go perform your rap, right? And like give you the courage, but also you knew that like, okay, I got my friend here. Even if I flop, my friend's here. It's okay, right? They're gonna love me no matter what. Even if I like fall down and stumble on my face on stage, doesn't matter. My friend's gonna be here. It's fine, right? Like that's like the sort of like safety that you have. Like I got these people and they're here for me no matter what. Like sometimes that can help you put yourself out there, right? Or if you just like, or if you're like, I just don't want to know anybody, I just want to go in, do my thing, like you said, for the comedy thing, that could also help. So knowing what kind of person you are, that could help. But honestly, the first time is always the hardest.
Yes, it is.
The first time is the hardest, and after that, it just gets a little bit easier, a little bit easier. And another thing that I think I'll say is that like everyone's scared all the time, especially the first few times. Everybody's scared. It's not, fear is not a sign that you should not be doing it. Absolutely not. If you think, oh, I'm scared, so I'm not going to do it, that is absolutely wrong. No. Right? Like if you're scared, you got to do it. That's it. And you have to work with the fear. Okay, you're going to be scared. You're going to be terrified. You're going to be scared shitless. That's fine. How do we work with that to go and still do the thing?
Yeah. And also when you put yourself out there, judgment, people criticizing you, people judging you. You know what? People are always going to judge you no matter what.
People are going to judge you no matter what. Absolutely. Like you said. And you know what? Here's one other thing, okay? That I'm sure you've heard of it. Is a little hack that I also try to think of. Like, yeah, they'll judge you for like 5 minutes. But guess what? After 5 minutes, they will literally forget about you. People don't think about you as much as you think people think about you. That's a good and bad thing. Bad thing, they're like, oh man, no one's thinking about me. Good thing, whew, no one's thinking about me,
Yeah, because they're already thinking about what they have to do and their own problems and their own judgment.
Their own judgment. Now they're like, oh, they've spent 5 minutes judging you. Great. Also, people who judge you, by the way, I also read this the other day, is like the only people who will judge you for doing something are the people who have not done it yet,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, like,
Because the people who are doing it and people who are in the arena, they're not going to
oh,
judge you because we're
no.
also in the arena too. We're getting
Yeah,
our ass whooped, getting judged or whatever it is, But as
exactly.
long
They've
as
been there. They've
yeah,
been there.
yeah. And as long as you know who you are,
Yeah.
core of yourself,
Yeah.
and it comes back to you
Yeah.
and the level of trust that you give yourself and the vulnerability of like trying.
The problem of try exactly, like, honestly, and then the other day I wrote this post about, like, if you don't try, if you talk about all the things, all the reasons you're not going to try, try to, obviously you're self-sabotaging yourself, but you've thought about all the things, so you haven't tried. Great, I haven't tried. Perfect. So you've done nothing.
Yeah.
Great, congratulations, you've done nothing, right? So it's hard, it's vulnerable, it's so, and like you said, like it's challenging, but you're trying something, you're creating something, you know and that's what matters. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one is perfect. Like, obviously all of these poets we see and all these spoken word artists and songwriters and everybody that we see, I'm pretty sure they write like 100 pieces of garbage before they find 10 good ones.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the fact is that just start.
Just start. Exactly. Just
Start.
put yourself. And because at the end of the day, like, imagine you want to do something. Say you're like, oh, I want to write a song or I want to sing it or whatever. Say you're a songwriter, right? I'm not one, but say you want a songwriter. So you've been thinking about it for 5 years, 6 years, like, oh, I'm so scared. And then 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and you haven't done it. And then, one day you're gonna be like, oh, I wish I did it. And oh, I wish I did it. That's the worst for me. I hate having that thought, right? That, oh, I wish I did that. Like, regret. No.
Regret. And that's what the old people at home, like senior center homes, that's the one thing that they talk about is the regret of what they should have done or what not.
Exactly. And also, I think another thing I read the other day was people regret more of the things they didn't do than the things that they did.
Mm, yeah.
You know? So it's everything in life is terrifying. Rose, living is hard. You know what I mean? You step outside, get hit by a bus. I don't know. Like, it could be an earthquake. I don't know. Everything is hard. Choose your heart, right? Put yourself out there. Face your fears, or just go along with your fears, being like, okay, I'm terrified. We're gonna do it terrified.
Yeah.
Because
Do
we
it.
don't want to live with regret.
Yeah.
Do it terrified. We don't want to live with regret.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with regret too, is like, like I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I've been talking years. And then one day I was like, what the hell, Rosie? Well, like all this talk about doing a podcast and you haven't done nothing. So, and so how this podcast came to be is just
Yes.
one night I was like, fuck it, just do it. Just do it.
Let's do it.
I didn't have no launch of like, oh, I'm starting a podcast or do I know what I'm doing? No, but I'm learning along the way. Like, do I have like a nice intro yet? Not yet, but I'm doing it.
You're doing it. Exactly. And it's not
That's
going to
what
be
it is.
perfect. It doesn't have
Yes.
to be perfect, right?
Yes.
I think was it perfection is the enemy of progress,
Yes.
right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And as artists, as analytics too, I think a lot of us, we get stuck in this loop of, oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be perfect. Because once again, what you said, the fear of judgment, right? Oh, people are going to judge me if it's not perfect. Let's just keep going. Let's just go, right? Let's just keep moving. Progress. That's all we want to aim for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, progress. Progress.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, if you don't do something, you done nothing,
Yeah.
right? That's it. You've
Yeah.
just had it all in your head, and then you're like, oh well, I've been thinking about it for 5 years, and I've have nothing to show for it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like also, like, creatives like you and me and many others, I'm sure, right? We have so much in us. We have just so much in us. It's also like, do yourself a service, do ourselves a service, and put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Put it out there. I think it's time.
Oh no.
Who wants to go first?
We're basically talking about reading our poem out on this episode. That's
Yeah.
what Rose is saying we need to do.
What's gonna refer to? Who's gonna go first? So,
Who wants to go first? Do you want to go first? Do you want what's gonna make you feel better?
okay,
I'm fine with either way.
okay, because you're a better writer. Because if I hear your poem, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, mine is not as,
You go first.
there you go. The judgment of myself, it's like,
Yes.
how can I trust myself? Like, I need to not compare myself to somebody else. And that's with all of us. Like, don't compare yourself to somebody else. We're
Correct.
all on different levels of where we are.
Different journeys.
Different journeys. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually just wrote mine this morning just because I was reading my old one and I was like, I'm not really feeling this. So
Okay. Yeah.
I spent this morning, I was like, okay, let me just write it this morning. So
you got this.
I
got this. I know you got this. It's not about being a good writer or a great writer. It's about writing something. And the best part about art is subjective. There's no level to measure up to.
Yeah.
There's no level to measure up to. So you just speak from the heart.
All right. I love it. All right. So this is my first time ever writing any kind of poetry and performing it on this podcast. So here it goes. Ooh. See, all those emotions coming up like, oh man.
You got this. You got this. Remember, as your friend, when you were 18, 19-year-old, pushing you there, that's me now.
Yeah.
Pushing you to do this. You can do this.
All right. All right. Hold up. Slow the fuck down. You're thinking about the same thing. You're about to drown. Stop what you're doing. Take a deep breath. Slow down your breath. What's going on within you? Is it the guilt, the shame, the anxiety? Worry about the future? Are you going insane? See what it is. What are you afraid of? Did you fuck up the years? Did you fuck up years ago and is bringing up the shame and the guilt? Asking yourself, why did you do it? Holding yourself hostage for the past mistakes, making you paralyzed to this day, feeling unworthy of starting new because your past keep haunting you, feelings you don't deserve, feeling you don't deserve a better you. It's time to rewrite your story, time to heal those hurts, time to let go. What's holding you back? To forgive yourself, to let go, to release, to surrender. Are you able to slow down and feel what's really going on within you? To feel those reoccurring emotions that you keep pushing away? Are you ready to push play? Pause and acknowledge what's happening within you. Right now in this moment, can you allow whatever it is to be present? Don't try to change it or push it away. Can you accept yourself today? Can you step back and observe what's going on within you? Those thoughts and feelings and sensations that arise, can you observe them with mindfulness and kindness without turning a blind eye? You are not defined by your thoughts, emotions, or experience. Understand you are the observer. Understand that you are more than this mistake. You take responsibility for making the mistake. You forgive yourself, nurture yourself with kindness and compassion for the mistake. Feel those emotions of guilt and shame, but remember, you are not your mistake. I think you're mute.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Woo! The debut of the Rosie Roses poetry on the Rosie Rose podcast. Amazing.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Let the breath out. How do you
Ah,
feel?
it feels like a release. Like,
Yeah, like a release.
yeah, like kind of like I express myself like, oh, it's over. It's
Like, oh,
I did
yes,
it.
you. That's right. Yes. Oh my God. I love it. And you know what? I love the fact that your poem is so relatable for so many people, right? It's so relatable for people who, are in their heads because they made a mistake and they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess up again. I'm gonna make the same mistake again. Oh my gosh. I know I suffer from that in other parts of my life. And I was like, oh my God, this has happened again. That trauma is still like in me. And I feel like, what if that same thing happens again? So I love that you put such beautiful like words to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was it's funny how when you sit there and write, like everything just it like flows to you.
Yeah.
Like it
Yes.
becomes like it's easy, not easy, but it's like
Yeah.
if
It
you
flows.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When you're in the zone, when you're in the zone, you're writing, it just flows and flows, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So guys,
Amazing.
thank you, thank you,
Congratulations, Rose.
thank you. And now we have Sab.
All right. Okay.
You hear me clap?
No, I can't hear you clap. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
why
Hear me
when
clap.
you're clapping. I couldn't hear you too. I was like, you're on mute.
Okay. Words. If words were your voice, would you keep them close to your heart? Would you know you have a choice? If the world was on fire and we were breaking in plain sight, where is your fight? If words were weapons, would you go to war to defend those you love in the name of honor, in a code of valor, even if you didn't feel brave enough? Because that is love. If words were love, would you use them to wrap your arms, wrap your charms around those on this earth who have you on your knees? Lord, please. Because if words were a prayer, would you wish for one last chance to wipe you clean? Do words have that power? Words are just thoughts after all, rolling on the tongue of the weathered and the young. Words fail and words lie, just as words can make you fly. With glitter and sound, words can hook your heart and burn it to the ground. With one slight, perhaps, an upturned smile and spark in their eyes. And then nothing else. In the hands of the wrong and the reckless, words are nothing else. It's always been a choice, you see, how you use your words and to what degree. Words can give life, be that first drink of water after a fast, that heart opening force of good that puts a sweet band aid over the past, that brings you closer and breaks down walls, that can crush your ego and slash your pride. It's a choice if you use your words and what picture you paint, because so often words are simply left unsaid. An illusion or an apparition, bravery unmet and promises unkept, slingers of the lowest lows and the highest high, by mere mortals just like you and I.
Woo, so good. Wow. When you first was reading it, you gave me goosebumps
Oh my gosh.
because it just, brought me like all the like words of Lord, please. Like
Thank you.
that
Thank you
was
so much.
beautiful and so deep.
Oh, thank you.
It just reminds me of like what's going on in this world right now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that was powerful. That
Thank you.
touch, like everything you said there was like it just reminds me of like, what's going on in the world. Like we can all understand and feel like the
Yeah.
words, from the powerful people to the people that are saying nothing and just,
Yeah.
you
How
know,
are you using your words to speak up? Are you not
yeah,
using your words to speak up? Are you using it in the right way, the wrong way, the power it has, or the power you can give it or not give it, right?
yeah, that was deep, beautiful, and whew, your words are so. I love it. I love how you write. Like
Thank you.
it flows. It like that was really, really good. Like that's like my next level is getting to where you are at, like
Thank you. Oh my God.
writing like
Thank
that.
you so much. That means so much. That means so much. Like for someone like I'm just so terrified all the words all the time of saying my poetry. So that means so much. Thank you.
You know what's the next step, right?
What?
Recording yourself on camera and posting it on your feed.
Oh,
Making it a reel.
yeah.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Very powerful. And it's gonna hit everybody differently.
Yeah.
And whatever your words that you have to say, it's like, I want to hear it again. So I can like feel it again.
Yeah. Feel it
Like,
again.
oh,
Maybe you find a
that.
different spot that you're like, oh, I
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
Yes. That was beautiful. Thank you
Thank,
so much.
thank you. Thank you
Woo.
for allowing me the space to share it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think this one everybody needs to hear this one.
Does it have to be recorded? Maybe. I'll think about that one. Okay. I'll seriously think about that one, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Go outside, hit record,
Yeah.
and just perform it.
Yeah.
That because somebody out there is gonna resonate so much with it. Because I resonate with it.
Mhm.
And I know others are gonna resonate with it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
Whew. You
Oh
guys,
yeah, it feels like such a release, and it feels so good to also perform your own art as well, or just to share your art,
yeah,
right? Feels
yeah.
really
How are you feeling now after performing it?
great. I feel great. I feel like part of me is now out there. Like you
Yeah,
felt like it just released. It feels like it's out there, and of course, it feels really good to hear the feedback too, which is like, oh, it landed, so that feels good.
yeah, yeah. I like that part of Lord, please.
I know.
The
Yes,
attitude, like
yes.
it's like Lord, please.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for, joining me today. And so do you have anything to say to somebody listening that, any last words for them? Somebody listening that can, I don't know,
Yeah.
what's coming, like, whatever is.
Yeah. Well, sure. I think it's a theme that I think that's been sort of woven through the whole topic today is, just finding the courage, being bold, right? Because once you do, the what's on the other side is so much exponentially more positive than what's on the side, right? When I say this side, it's like, the side of I haven't done it yet, that kind of thing, to being scared and stuff, right? The upside is so much more, right? It's wonderful, and it's worth pushing past that fear or working with the fear to get to the other side. If whether it's creative expressions, putting something out in the world, just to having that confidence in yourself too, because the more you do that something, the more you build confidence in yourself too, right? So like building that confidence muscle, all of that. Then the upsides are exponentially so much more. That's what I would say. It's just like, just give it a go for it, whatever's in your mind, try to speak it, try to write it, try to perform it, put it out there in the world needs more of that. And I if I may plug it, I plan to actually start talking more about this on a more regular format in a podcast that I plan to launch soon. Hoping to launch this on April 22nd. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm hoping for that, but just solely because it was 2204 in 2024. So I thought the number sounded cool. I'm such a
Yes.
nerd. But it's going to be called Bold Hearted, and it's going to be about just that, right? How do we get in that mindset of doing bold things?
Because when I see you, you're bold. And you mentioned you love working with Trailblazer. What does Trailblazer mean to you?
Yeah, trailblazers to me are people who blaze their own trail, who take the road less traveled, who are, saying, if say they're on a path, in whether a traditional path in life and career and anything, and then they're like, you know what, I'm being called to something else, and then they switch paths, they pivot, they try something else, and then either as passion projects, putting art out into the world, or just changing the career altogether, but just really being that person who's like, you know what, I'm going to be bold, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to take that step and try something else. That's what
Mm,
trailblazer to me. Yeah.
I love that. Trailblazer, because we're all trailblazer if we choose to be.
If we
And-
choose to be, we can all be trailblazers,
yeah.
right? And a lot of us we're holding back, but yeah, so that's what that's about. Thank
Yes.
you so
So
much, Rose, for having me. This was such a blast. I knew it would be the blast, and it was a blast.
oh my God, I had so much fun talking with you and also like sharing our poetry and just
Oh my,
like
yes.
for me, it's something different.
Exactly. And you know what? And you made your debut. You made your debut. Your poetry made a debut onto the world. So I'm so excited that we got to witness your debut.
Yes, yes. So you guys, this is Sab here, and she's gonna have a podcast called Bold Hearted, April 22nd. And if you love her here, you're gonna love her podcast. So you guys tune in. I'll leave all her info down below in the link. And you guys, Sab, you have any last words for people listening?
Yeah. Stay bold, get bold, blaze your own trail, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right, stay bold, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you guys. Bye.